If you're new here, my name is Sarah Yak and I'm building out this van alongside my girlfriend Tori. It is starting to rain, so we're gonna bring this inside, but I wanted to talk to you guys today about sexuality, coming out, and all these things that matter a lot to me, but I haven't been sharing about as much since I've been doing this van build. As you can tell, it's still very much incomplete and there is still work that needs to be done, but I have been doing a lot of stuff that maybe isn't as visible or you can't tell as much that I've done it. I have my AC unit installed. I did that last night, which I'm really excited about. I also did the skylight this week. I installed an undermount propane tank, 12 gallons of propane, which is amazing, and then a water tank, and Tori's been doing work on her van as well. So yeah, I'm really excited about all the van projects and I'm gonna share more in depth about them in next week's video, but I have been getting so many questions as usual about like sexuality, coming out. That's a big part of my journey and I love sharing that with you guys because I needed more representation growing up and it just matters a lot to me to answer those questions and connect with you guys in that way. So let's dive into it. So I first came out when I was in college, actually well past college. I had already been on the road and left my hometown, and I feel like that was really important for me to be able to come out. Like, I wish that I came out younger. I wish that I was in the environment that nurtured my experience a little bit more to where I felt safe to come out, but that wasn't the case for me. Like, I grew up in the Bible Belt in Texas and I grew up around a lot of religious rhetoric, and I was constantly being told that it was a sin by people around me, my peers. I have some family that's homophobic as well and thinks that way, and so I feel like it was just a little bit of a scary concept, and I denied in myself a lot that I was queer at that time period. And it was a big part of my journey to leave my hometown and to be able to be in an area and an environment that like was a safe space for me to be able to experiment and question my sexuality openly and be honest with myself about it. And I'm really happy that I was able to finally be open with myself and experience that, because now I've met my soulmate and we're building vans together and we're building a life together, and I just couldn't imagine not being with her. Before moving on to the rest of the video, I wanted to share something really exciting. Self-pleasure is something that I'm really passionate about, as you guys know. So my friends over at Bellesa and I are doing a giveaway. We are sending out free vibrators or gift cards to everyone who signs up for my giveaway. I'll include the link in the description below, but until then I wanted to unbox some of my favorite toys from Bellesa. So this one is the Air Vibe. That is stunning. Why is that like the most beautiful toy I've ever seen? Okay, this next one is the Pebble. Favorite thing about Bellesa is they have discreet packaging, and also it comes in these nice little cases, which is so nice because you can charge it in this case. Before I used Bellesa and learned about Bellesa, I had other toys, not Bellesa toys. They didn't come in a case, so I had to just charge them in my charging station in the van. And one time somebody asked for a van tour and I was giving a van tour and I opened up my charging station and it was just right there charging because I forgot, and it was so embarrassing. And yeah, I just feel like this is so nice because you can charge it and you don't have to worry about it at all being out in the open or someone accidentally seeing it, or yeah, it's just really nice. Ever since I've discovered Bellesa, I have only used them because of their discreet packaging and their products are just so high quality. I also love Bellesa because they are a bi woman-owned company and their mission is to empower everyone to embrace, explore, and celebrate their sexuality. So if these are things that you also value, I've included the link to the giveaway in the description of this video. And now on to the rest of the video. Okay, briefly stopped raining and I really want to be outside because it's a beautiful day, so I'm going to answer the questions out here for as long as I can. I usually ask for questions on Instagram, so if you don't already follow me over there, it's just at Sarah Yak if you want to get involved in something like this in the future. So the first question is, how can you tell if someone is truly gay or just questioning? It's the worst feeling. I think that people put so much pressure on labels, and I feel like relieving a lot of that pressure really helps. Like, you shouldn't feel like you need to label yourself immediately. Like, if you're still exploring and you don't know, it's perfectly fine to say you don't know, and I think that's such a valid response. And I've met people who are like in queer relationships and literally married in same-sex relationships who still don't know how they identify. Tori and I sometimes question like exactly where we lean on the spectrum of sexuality, and that's perfectly okay. I just think that like society puts so much pressure on people knowing their sexuality 100%, and that's just like a really unreasonable thing, I think, to ask people to do, especially when you're young. Actually, it doesn't even matter what age, truthfully. No matter what age, like sometimes it's just confusing and there's so much dogma around it too, and so much societal messaging that it's hard to know like what is the societal messaging and really unpack like how we truly feel and we identify. And sometimes that takes decades to figure out and to learn and to unravel. And so yeah, totally valid for you to not know if you're questioning or if you're truly queer. Just relieve yourself of that pressure and allow yourself to explore. And that's like a really special time in someone's life. And so yeah, just be open with it is what I would say. Next question is kind of along the same grain, and it is any tips for wanting to explore but not sure where to start? Putting yourself in the environment to meet people that are also queer will really help, and becoming friends with people who are queer and like hearing their experience and getting their advice and their journey, yeah, that also helps, I think. Okay, one of my friends actually commented, what was the main difference you felt being with a woman versus a man for the first time in bed? Both were kind of nerve-wracking. I was quite young. Well, I don't know if you would consider this young, but I was a freshman, like 15 or 16, when I lost my virginity to a man, and I was dating that guy for a couple years at the time period, and I was so scared, but it's hard to compare it because I was also very young. I was just scared in general of anything like that. Like I had never done anything like that before except with that guy. Whereas when I was first with a woman, I was more confident in who I was as a person and like experienced in a lot of different areas. And so I was nervous, and I was acknowledging that it was like kind of crazy that I was feeling so nervous because I was an adult now and I was more experienced and like I had more butterflies, and I felt like I was in high school all over again, honestly. It also felt more special in a way because it took me so much longer to figure out and accept my sexuality. It felt like this big realization in my life, kind of, and I feel like a lot of people who come out later in life maybe relate to that, where it's like everything just kind of clicked and I was like, oh, this just makes sense. And I was going back and like realizing all these things from my past and how it hinted at and kind of drew attention to maybe the fact that I had been queer all along and I just didn't pick up on the clues. I think that also for the first time being with a man versus a woman, this may have just been because I was young too, but the first time I was with a man, I feel like he led everything. And that's partially like I was so young, it was my first time, and also partially because that's just how society like portrays it. I feel like it's usually portrays it as the man taking the lead and doing the work, I guess, which doesn't have to be the case, and it shouldn't be the case necessarily, but that is just how it's portrayed and like the cultural norm of it, I feel like. Whereas with two women, it's something that's like you have to not figure out, but like it's not just a default thing, and like it shouldn't be a default thing with a man and a woman either. But I actually really enjoyed that with queer sex, that it was more fluid. Next question is, how do I know a girl is gay and how can I flirt with her? I don't want to like make stereotypes about what it looks like to be gay, because I feel like nobody would look at me and like think I'm gay automatically. There are some things where I kind of question if someone's gay because they do certain things. I don't know how to describe it. It's like just how somebody carries themselves. Sometimes I feel like sometimes how they dress too, which I know is stereotypical, and you can't always tell. Like sometimes people look so gay and then they're straight and they just have cool fashion style, honestly. There's certain trends that the queer community follows. Obviously, like short nails is kind of a stereotype. Like if you have short nails, you know, there's a reason you have short nails. And then I feel like a lot of jewelry, a lot of rings, like cool jewelry too, piercings, tattoos, and like sometimes people will wear things that kind of give it away, like maybe a rainbow bracelet, or like I have a little rainbow tattoo, which was not even intentional, but it does kind of out me. But yeah, sometimes people will wear like a rainbow pin or something just to try to make them more visible. And then the next part of that question is how to flirt with a girl. For me, when someone's flirting with me or when I'm flirting with someone else, it's very subtle, I feel like, and I'm trying to like gauge interest. Obviously, I haven't flirted with somebody in a long time because I've been dating my girlfriend, but this is like how I flirted with my girlfriend when we first started talking, and like, yeah, just this is how I like told her and showed her that I was interested in her like more than a friend. When I'm interested in somebody, I feel like I make prolonged eye contact and will like, I don't know, just like touch them in subtle ways that I wouldn't touch just a friend. Like if they're walking, putting your hand like in this part of their back, I feel like is really cute, or like around them, or like hold hands obviously are indications. But then sometimes it's like hard to gauge because I feel like straight girls can be really touchy. It really helps if like you know that you're doing this type of behavior with somebody who's also queer. So for me, I try to bring up the fact that I'm queer if I'm interested in somebody so that like they know. And then like for Tori and I, when we first started flirting and talking, like we both had a lot of talks about sexuality in our experience. And so that really helped also like give us the context for when we started like touching and being a little flirty with each other. We knew, I feel like, that we were doing it as more than friends because we had already had the talks about our sexuality and we had already had those conversations. Somebody said, I'm scared of going down on my girlfriend, like scared that I won't like it. Do you have any advice? The way I navigate everything is just try it like once. That's kind of how I feel about most everything. Like just try it. If you don't like it, you've learned something about yourself. And I think that applies in this scenario too. Like if you're open to trying it and you feel comfortable, like I know you're scared, but if that's something you want to see if you like, then I would say definitely just try it and try to like keep an open mind and relieve your stress about it, and don't put pressure on yourself to like it or not like it. Like who knows what could happen. Try to just like experience it as objectively and unbiased as possible, because you may surprise yourself. You might like it, you might not like it, and either way it's a win because you'll learn something about yourself. Simultaneously, I will just say like be sensitive to your girlfriend's feelings, because sex in general is such a scary thing. It's such a nerve-wracking thing, and it's so vulnerable, and I don't know, I could just imagine somebody taking that personally, and I feel like it's good to be honest, but at the same time, like it's, you know, just don't be too honest where you're hurting your girlfriend's feelings. And you could even tell her you're nervous too and you've never done anything like that, and maybe that would create a safer space for you, and you and her would probably feel more safe experiencing that together because you guys both kind of know the experience. Or if you think that that would make you guys both feel more nervous to have a conversation like that or just draw attention to it, you could also not talk about it. Like that's totally up to you. Either way, no matter how it plays out, you're going to learn about yourself. And so if that's a desire of yours, then go for it. And if it's not a desire of yours, then I don't know, then maybe that does tell you something about your sexuality too. The next question is, how can you truly connect with someone without much touch? More about the heart. And this is totally me because I'm words of affirmation. So when Tori and I first started dating, we played a lot of card games with prompts. My favorite is We're Not Really Strangers, and they have like a dating pack, they have a basic pack, and we just did all of them, and we would like light candles and drink some wine and have dinner. And it was such a great way to connect and learn more about each other because you're asking each other really important questions in the beginning of dating. Honestly, I feel like we would not have known to ask each other those questions if we didn't have those packs. And it was a great way to just like get to know each other, and yeah, it really sparked a lot of connection between us, I felt like. And I feel like I genuinely got to know her at such a quick rate as well because of that experience and because we use those packs. And then throughout the time that we've been dating, even beyond that, like we initially started using those packs, we've started buying other packs that are kind of similar. We used like Esther Perel has a pack, I know, and then there's another brand. Yeah, we use like a couple different packs, and we'll ask each other questions and prompts from those card games, which I feel like it's such a great way to connect. I really recommend that. The next question is, as an ally, what is the best way I can support the LGBTQ plus community? And I feel like honestly, the best way to be an ally is just be like vocal. If you see somebody saying something rude, or you see somebody like being rude to a queer person or a trans person or a non-binary person, like being the person that stands up for them on their behalf is so cool. And sometimes people will make jokes, and obviously like homophobic people never think they're homophobic, but you can kind of just tell when those jokes aren't cool. And it's like, I just don't think it's cool to make jokes where like someone else is the butt end of that joke and it makes someone feel bad. And so if you're ever in a scenario where you see something like that happen, or even if it's more like outward homophobia, just being that person that like stands up and says, hey, that's not cool, and not being a bystander to it, I feel like is so important. And also just being like a listening ear to your queer friends as they like navigate their sexuality. I think I got a question that kind of goes well with that, which is making a big deal out of coming out. This person said they don't want to be dramatic, but it's an important part of their life. And yeah, I feel like being an ally, like if somebody comes out in a way that's like big and bold, like being the person that cheers them on instead of the person that judges them for coming out in a bold way is so important. And so it means so much to somebody who's queer. And also for that person who asked that question, come out in whatever way you want to come out. There is no way you could be too big or too bold about it. Like do whatever feels organic and right for you. And maybe some people will think it's too bold or whatever, and then you'll learn through that experience who are your people and who are not. Somebody asked, how was the first time you had sex with a woman? I'm nervous about it. Oh my gosh, the first time I had sex with a woman, my heart was literally jumping out of my chest. I was so nervous. I don't think I've ever been so nervous doing something like that with somebody. Even with a man, the first time I lost my virginity, it was not like that. Like something about it was just, I don't know, it was like scarier. I think I feel more seen with women, and it almost is like intimidating at first, but then once you open yourself to it, it's like not intimidating. It's actually beautiful to be seen and to connect with someone in such a deep way. But at first it can feel a little scary, but I almost feel like the nerves add to the excitement of it in a weird way. Like the nerves are almost, to me, the nerves were butterflies. Like that's kind of, I was so nervous, but I recognized that it was like, I was excited, nervous. I think that just like making those small moves, and it really helps if you guys, like you and the person you're kind of flirting with, do it together. Like maybe you guys are both nervous, but just slowly making moves that progress into something bigger, and like doing it slowly is perfectly fine, and it almost like adds to the suspense of it all and like makes it all more intense in a good way. So yeah, I think like you can totally be slow about it and move at your own pace, and it's almost more exciting to be slow about it. Okay, somebody asked where to find queer hookups that aren't at a bar. I feel like a lot of queer people are at like festivals, like music festivals and things like that. Also, like I love rock climbing, and I feel like there are a lot of queer people at climbing gyms, and I love meeting people at climbing gyms because then you already have a shared interest and can like bond over that. And yeah, so for me it would be climbing gyms, but I feel like there are queer people everywhere. How long have you and Tori been together, and do you think lesbian deadbeth is real? Tori and I have been together for over 3 years, and if you don't know what lesbian deadbeth is, it's just this theory that lesbians, more so than straight couples, have an experience where they like don't have a lot of sex when they're in committed relationships, and I don't think that's real at all. I don't know, I think it's just like a weird theory, because in any long-term relationship, sex drive is going to go in phases, especially as each person's individual lives fluctuates. Like there may be job stress, there may be financial stress, there may be family stress, a big traumatic event like the loss of a loved one, and all of that can affect like someone's mood and someone's sex drive, and that's totally valid. That's just something that you have to be intentional about when you're in a long-term relationship, is learning how to keep the spark alive and take initiative in that way, and like how can you mix things up to keep it exciting and keep it fresh and fun, and also like acknowledging and realizing that in a long-term relationship sometimes there will be dry spells, and sometimes there will be times where you're not feeling as attractive or sexy or turned on and things like that, and I feel that that is normal no matter what relationship you're in. Like I've said, I've been in long-term relationships with both men and women, and I just feel like that is a universal experience. Not for everybody, obviously, but I think that a lot of couples that, like a lot of my friends, whether or not they're queer in queer relationships or straight relationships, like they've also experienced that. There's a bee in here. It's kind of a scary looking bee. Oh my gosh, I think that it's bringing his baby along and teaching his, oh no. He's not teaching his baby. That's a fly. I'm usually not afraid of bees, but that one looks like a wasp, and I am afraid of wasps. I feel like wasps hold vengeance against people, so I'm kind of, okay, he's towards the back of the van, that's fine. Those are all the questions. It means so much for me to be able to talk about stuff like this, because it's honestly been a while, and I feel like it's just such a big part of my life and my advocacy, and I really want to be a safe space for people on the internet. I just feel like growing up, this type of content would have changed so much for me if it was more prevalent, but it wasn't. And so I really want everybody to just feel like my channel is a safe space from people of all different types of backgrounds. And yeah, I just feel like these types of conversations are really important. So thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for asking those questions and facilitating these conversations with me. And I'll see you guys next week on Sunday. Bye.